As the wave approaches, I'm thinking, am I gonna die at 52? I'm too old for this. Just then, my instructor yells, paddle now. Whatever courage inspired me to say yes to the surfing excursion in my work retreat in Mexico was surely gone now. Just a few strokes, and I'm up. I'm up. I'm standing on the board. I can't believe it. And oh my gosh, the thrill. As I steer myself to shore, I can tell I am grinning from ear to ear. It is the most amazing experience. Looking back now, I can still feel the power I felt up there on the board, navigating the surf in perfect balance. It takes me back to the excitement of the first day I wore my white coat as a newly minted doctor. I felt energized and elated, like I could take on the world. Well, my dismount wasn't pretty, but I immediately head back for another go. After each ride, my instructor suggests a small shift in technique, and I grow more steady, more sure of myself. Lessons from surfing paralleled what I later found to be an effective tool for beating job burnout. Small adjustments, which I'll call micro changes, allow us to maintain our balance on the board and really thrive in our careers. That first surfing experience was such a high. A few years earlier, it was a different story entirely. When Anna, my career coach, asks, "Why don't you share your story about burnout and leaving medicine? It might help someone." She is asking me to share my biggest failure publicly, the source of so much shame. At this point, I'm a successful healthcare writer, but leaving medicine as a young doctor still feels like a rock in my gut. Then one day, as I'm researching an article, I run across a description of professional burnout. Oh my gosh, it's a thing. It's an actual thing with a scientific definition and research. I start reading everything I can find about professional burnout. And I learned that there are 3 parts to it. Becoming totally spent emotionally, becoming detached or cynical, and feeling inadequate at your job. According to researchers in the field, professional burnout is caused by chronic excessive stress at work. When I experienced burnout, there were no studies on the prevalence in physicians, but we now know that 1 of every 2 physicians today is burned out. A 2023 study found that 6 out of 10 feel unfulfilled professionally, and a full 1/3 stated they intended to leave their position within the next 2 years. What if these physicians had a way to improve their work experience, even in an ever-changing, stressful healthcare environment? Anna keeps after me to tell my story and even connects me with an editor at NPR. I keep saying no. No, no, no way. Then, at a conference, the presenter shows a slide with data from the American Journal of Psychiatry that says that physicians have a suicide rate that is 2 times that of the general population. I hear that statistic and it's like the wind has been knocked out of me. And I think, who am I to hold back on sharing my struggles when it might help a physician in distress? My desire to help others lifts me out of the shame, and I am on fire. I go home, write the article, and to my surprise, it goes viral. 26,000 views in a week, which was a lot for 2013. Burned out physicians begin contacting me to tell me their stories. They tell me they are grateful to see that they are not alone. I begin to rediscover my power and direction. It was then that I met another physician with similar interests, and we began writing a book together. In the course of our research, interviewing dozens of physicians, healthcare leaders, and researchers, we hear over and over again that physician burnout is caused by system problems. A 2018 study about physician burnout that was published in the Journal of Internal Medicine stated, the drivers of this epidemic are largely rooted within healthcare organizations and systems. The article listed stressors such as excessive workload and the clerical burden associated with the electronic health record, or EHR. What a relief to learn that I was not weak or broken. I've been working in a flawed system. Then, I interview a physician who runs a successful burnout prevention program for physicians in North Carolina. He tells me they begin by acknowledging the very real system problems that these physicians face every day, and then guide them to take steps to improve their own well-being. Oh my gosh, there's a way to do this. One of the things they did was create a EHR optimization team to make documentation less frustrating. This showed me that job burnout is not only about fixing overall complex systems, it can also start with the individual. I think back on my experience. While work stress was a huge factor in my burnout, I played a role too. Because of the exhaustion, I didn't notice the small changes I could have made to improve my work life and my well-being. And the result was a big wipeout. The North Carolina program showed me that helping individuals can have a ripple effect and transform organizations. Inspired by the opportunity to have a positive impact on both, I trained and became certified as a professional coach. When Dr. A approached me, a mid-career obstetrician gynecologist, she described herself as driven. She is one of the most productive physicians in her practice, but the nurses have begun complaining that she's irritable with them sometimes. And she tells me she's maxed out and grumpy. She begins by looking at the ways that she plays a role in her burnout and identifies excessive people-pleasing as a place to start. She starts setting some boundaries. For example, she stops volunteering to come in for deliveries when she's not on call. These steps and others allow her to have a life outside of medicine. She recovers from burnout, her relationship with the nurses improves, and in the time she reclaims, she pursues a passion for mountain climbing. I remember the first tweak my instructor gave me. When you pop up, he said, make sure to put your leading foot right in the middle of the board. If you're off a little, you'll tip. I tried it and my balance improved. It was a small tweak, a micro change to my foot placement and Dr. A's boundary setting that kept us both afloat. When Dr. B approached me, she had been a primary care physician for 14 years. She has 3 small children and she's heading into burnout. According to her contract, she works just 3 days a week, but it takes her 7 days a week to complete all of the required paperwork. I just want one day completely away from work, she tells me. She has a long list of frustrations, mostly related to the electronic health record and documentation, and she's skeptical she can do anything to improve something that is a system problem. But she agrees to try a small experiment, focusing on trying to finish each clinic note before seeing the next patient. To do this, she spends a little time the night before reviewing charts, and she keeps top of mind that finishing the note right away is not only more efficient, it also translates into more time outside of work. I remember the next instruction that my instructor gave me, which was to hold my front arm across my body instead of out to the side. This kept my body more in a crouched position rather than stiffly upright, and I could respond better to the wave. The water's movement and changing tides of the professional world can feel out of our control. But micro changes allow us to experiment without overwhelm. When I met Dr. C, a maternal fetal medicine specialist, that is, a physician who works with women who have high-risk pregnancies, she told me that she was thinking of leaving her position or leaving medicine entirely. She was struggling with burnout. She said that she had a tendency to take on extra tasks at work that needed to be done and then feel stretched thin. She began by looking at the ways that she was contributing to her burnout. And she realized she needed more separation from work. So she started setting some limits. She took work email off of her phone, and she started declining optional work meetings. These steps and others allowed her to have some time to reflect. And she realized she loved her work. But some things needed to change if she was going to stay in her position. After several attempts to fix some of these problems with limited success, she chose to look for opportunities elsewhere. My most recent surfing tweak is to look forward when I pop up, rather than down at my feet. This keeps the nose of the board up, and I have more control. Lifting her head up from the daily grind allowed Dr. C to have the clarity to look for a different position instead of leaving medicine. Tiny adjustments can dramatically improve our ability to navigate waves and professional highs and lows. And if we don't make these changes, eventually we wipe out. Here's how to use micro changes to thrive at work. First, we make a list of all the frustrations and inefficiencies at our job. Maybe it's too many committee meetings, too many inbox messages, or too many hours of work outside of work. Next, we identify the ones where we have the power to make a change, even if it's tiny. We have to be honest and courageous and willing to see where we have some agency. Finally, we pick one of these, just one, to try a micro change as an experiment. And if an experiment doesn't work, that is information, not failure. We can tweak it or try something different. One of the most important lessons that my surfing instructors taught me was to start small. Before we'd leave the beach, the instructor would trace a large oval in the sand, and we would practice our paddling and pop-up several times before we'd hit the water. When you're implementing a change, start with a low-hanging fruit. And what about the problems we can't control? Once we've used micro changes within our sphere of influence and have our head above water, then we can join with others and learn how to advocate strategically for fixes to those problems. Remember Dr. A, the obstetrician gynecologist who was maxed out and grumpy? Here is a picture of her at the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, once she had the time and energy to train for mountain climbing. And Dr. B, the primary care physician, 2 weeks after she tried the micro changes, she told me with a huge smile, "I had a Saturday completely off." Having a day off every week has a ripple effect on her life, and she begins to love her work again. And Dr. C, the maternal fetal medicine specialist who was thinking of leaving medicine, she landed a dream job with a promotion at another hospital. She told me, "I can't wait to begin." The experiences of these physicians are not unique. I've now worked with hundreds of physicians and I've seen the same thing. My clients recover from burnout, they rediscover their love of medicine, and they create sustainable careers through micro changes. As life goes, sometimes our most potent lessons come after a critical turning point in our lives, and we can't go back and get a do-over. But we can share those lessons with others. This is my gift to you. The main thing I want you to take away today: micro changes are an effective tool for reclaiming our time at work so we can stay in our professions and do our best work. Surfing taught me the same thing. I don't know that I'll ever call myself a real surfer, but I honestly don't care. Micro changes have allowed me to improve my surfing bit by bit, so I get to enjoy peak experiences every time I step on the board. Thank you.